Welcome to the Father Focus podcast.
Father Focus.
Check.
Why are we talking about this? Why does it matter?
So shaping your kids into powerful people.
Bro, let that brother fly.
Check.
All right, let's
Guys,
go.
you ready?
All right, let's go. I'm with myself. Welcome to the Father Focus podcast, a podcast by fathers for fathers. So excited to be with everyone, and I want to thank you for listening whatever platform you're listening on. We just want to say thank you, and if you would you please like, share, subscribe, particularly on YouTube, and we're trying to just use that avenue a little bit. And so, my boys, how y'all doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing well, man. Excited to be here. I'm gonna use the word excited this time.
Wow, you guys.
I'm
I
excited.
didn't say it.
I'm excited.
Normally, I mean, it's 10:30 where we are in Orlando at Hi Hello Labs.
Well, that's what pastors are supposed to say. They're supposed to say, "I'm excited."
I'm excited. I really am excited.
Yes.
That's right. Somebody's got to be excited.
Hey guys, welcome to church this Sunday morning. Who's excited to be here? I'm excited.
That's right.
Well, it
Are
really
you
is.
excited?
Some people really are excited.
They are. We actually like each other.
Not that much, but maybe I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, you need to come to
I'd
our
speak
church.
for myself, I guess.
So on today's episode, actually, one of the interesting things that I'd like to talk about is habits, but in a kind of a negative sense, like habits
Sure.
that make us weak. Because, habits are a great thing. We've talked about it before. Without appropriate habits, you're not going to advance in whatever discipline you're trying to become better at. So I've been coaching my son's baseball team this is our 6th year, and it's so fun. I've coached him from T-ball all the way now. We're in what's called the 12U, so 11 and 12s. He's 10, so he's a little bit on the younger side, which, just keep the team together, so I move him up. But it's interesting watching some of the players develop, and especially the ones who will go home and take what we teach them and they go practice it at home by themselves, their parents.
Yeah.
And so, like hitting, maybe like golf, but in hitting, there are some particular like muscle memory things that need to be done, so that because the ball's moving so fast. Like, if there's an argument to be made that hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do in sports, and so the muscle memory has to be trained so well and perfectly so that all these, so that you can make a good hit, basically. And what we try to do is to teach them the right habits over and over, and then I'm standing right there, repositioning their hips, their body, their hands, elbows, every part of it until they have a decent swing, and then they perfect it all their life. But however, some of the kids practice bad habits in their swing, and then they take that bad habit, like, for one thing, dropping their hands, which is kind of a lot of kids naturally do it. They'll drop their hands instead of leaving their hands up by the shoulders, ear, or whatever. They drop them real low, and it might cause them, because they feel like they need to swing up to hit the ball in the air.
Right.
So they swing up. Just a bad habit that they practice. They get into the game. Boom.
Sounds like golf. My whole life playing golf.
Because remember Charles Barkley's old swing?
Yeah.
Oh my
Watch some
God.
videos of him play
dude,
golf.
that is funny.
Yeah.
Trying to break that bad habit, that hitch that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they call it? I forget what they call it, but yeah, that was a disaster. My God, you think that guy would be like, "This isn't the sport for me," but he just keeps going for it. So give him kudos for that.
But I guess when you get a little bit older, you can't play basketball anymore.
I think he's worked it out.
He should do cornhole, something else. I don't know.
Cornhole. Pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball.
But yeah, so habits, so bad habits have a tendency to put a kink in our armor, right? It causes us to be vulnerable. We're not going to be achieving the maximum level that we could if we have those bad habits, which, you need coaches in your life, because sometimes you can't see your swing, right? Nathan played basketball. Nathan has actually a really good shot. Even we were messing around yesterday. Still got the same.
Well, I don't know about yesterday. I pretty much airballed everything yesterday.
What I'm saying is the form was still the same, because you had practiced it so much. You had gone through so many.
Right.
So your form was the same. It's just your strength, bro. Bro, you're so weak now.
I know.
No, I'm kidding.
I'll still cross you over.
Ooh.
I would not bet on that, because I am terrible at basketball, without a doubt. But But it's the habits that
Right.
make us good. And
Sure.
sometimes you need somebody to look at you, look at the film,
Yes.
see what you're doing wrong. So we're going to talk a little bit today about habits that make you weak in your own life, things that we've kind of analyzed, things that maybe we've struggled with.
Right. We've either struggled with or we've noticed other men and fathers struggle with, like after you have kids, that stage of life. Here are some of the challenges we see men face, and then ultimately the results that they fall into because of that. So, yeah, I think this would be a good conversation.
Let's hear some. What do y'all say? Just to jump into it.
Yeah,
Bishop?
Habits that make you weak. I think prioritizing work over family. I think we're all here. We would all say that we're pretty motivated people, pretty driven. I used to meet with a group of friends in Dallas, and they were all working professionals at a high level, and they would talk about how, man, they were believers, how they struggled with even at times going home because they would be so engrossed in work and they would be so excited, especially when things were successful, and they were talking about how they struggle. I have a hard time, and I was thinking, man, this is much more of an issue than I ever realized. Some people have a hard time. Men have a hard time placing that balance of work and home life. Yeah. And I think, you guys think that's a struggle because you think men they don't want to go home, or are they truly enthralled with their work?
I think it's probably multiple. Yeah, I mean, it's both and for sure. You get recognition at work. Right? Like if you perform well, you get bonuses, you get raises, you get promotions. There's a connection for men between their work and their identity. So there's instant gratification when you perform well, and how that makes you feel. Nobody's watching you at home being a dad. And there's a lot of moments as a dad that no one sees, no one knows. Obviously, they're critical, but you don't get any recognition for that. Right. Your kids aren't going to be like, Dad, I just really want to thank you for putting me to bed and buying me groceries. Time. It's like they don't care. Nobody cares. I mean, it's just kind of this is expected. This is what you do as a father. So I do think that is a big part of it. And I don't think it's something maybe guys even recognize is I'm seeking recognition, accolades, and I don't get it at home. So I'm going to put my energy somewhere else. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. Yeah. I think what I see a lot of times is guys live by their impulses or their feelings, personally, I'm going through somewhat of a challenging season right now, trying to figure out next steps for me and what we're going to do as a family. And the temptation really is for me on a daily basis to live all up in my feelings. Is kind of the way that they, use the terminology. And there's days where I definitely succumb to that, and I'm just bummed out and struggling and dealing with depression and fighting through a lot of emotions. But I've also learned there's a thought process I really love. It says I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like eating healthy. I don't feel like spending time with my kids, but I do it anyway. Yeah. So my feelings actually don't matter in the long run. I mean, they're an indicator, but they're not what I make my choices based off of. Yeah. So I would say what I see sometimes in guys is this led by their impulses, not just feelings, but their proclivities, their addictions, their temptations. They're almost like a victim to the circumstance around them or the feelings inside of them. They don't have mastery or control over themselves. And so what does that do? That creates inconsistent behavior. So they'll have times of motivation where it's they're really strong and they're oh, I got my stuff together. And then there's a trigger, there's something that happens that puts them back into that unhealthy place. And then there's 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time where they're just kind of coasting. And their family feels the effects of it because here's the reality. That dad is like a roller coaster. Yeah. He's not consistent. And so not only does it affect him in his life, it affects his family. There's a quote by, I don't know if Craig Rochelle came up with it, but he says, successful people do consistently what everyone else does occasionally. Mm-hmm. So it's not that, everyone does healthy things sometimes, but successful people do them consistently regardless of how they feel.
Yeah. Regardless if it's raining outside or snow, they're going to the gym, or they're going to eat well. They're going to take care of themselves. Yeah,
running.
Yeah,
they're going to wear medium shirts.
I think it was Michael Phelps, and I don't remember how many years, but it was something I mean, over a decade, he never missed a day in the pool.
Wow.
I'm like, That is insane.
It's
I
a lot
remember
of
his
days.
calorie intake and how hard it was for him
It
to
was like
actually
10 to
eat.
15,000
Like,
a
I
day.
feel
or
like-
Yeah,
whatever.
ridiculous.
grand.
But he had to eat, and it was like it's hard to do that. It's hard to eat, and he would never.
I'd like to try though, to be honest.
eating
10,000 calories.
oh my gosh, bro! Good luck on
You
that.
know how fat I would be? Because
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
swimming
or,
3
or
hours
you
a
would
day.
just die
Yeah,
by eating that
either
much.
one.
That's a lot.
I'd
of
be
food.
happy doing it, I tell you.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so like your negative habits, one of the things that I'll just, if I can be personal for a moment, like my wife and I, when we got married, we were friends before we ever started dating. It was all great. We get married, and here we are, two worlds coming together.
Sure.
Two different backgrounds, two different families, the way we're raised, all those things. You know that when you're married, you come together, and then immediately you have a little bit of tension when the worlds are colliding and they're blending. I'll say it that way. They're blending until you're a new family in a sense. So when we went through a Dave Ramsey just to kind of get our finances in order, which we loved, wanted to get out of debt. And we would go through his principles, and we would go through these like monthly budget meetings, and we would end up fighting because we just had differences of opinions on the money. And it started off like innocent, like fighting, like maybe bickering, and it wasn't a big deal. Well, then as time goes on, it's like, no, this is serious. Like, this is our lives. Like, we're really trying to make forward progress. And the fights really, really turned
Who's
bad.
the spender? Who's the saver? Or you're both savers?
No, I think Taylor is definitely a better saver than I
Okay.
am. She's definitely more frugal, and will find the deals. I wouldn't say I'm a big spender either, but I do. When I do spend, I do
Go
spend.
big.
You like
Go
quality.
big or go home.
You like
I,
quality.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, nevertheless, so we would go there, and we knew we were fighting. And I remember, like, month after month, whenever it was, no matter when, we knew when I hit the table. So my mind, and if you read the book Atomic Habits, he kind of gets into this. Like, you're programming, your mind is already programmed to go to the table. I know I'm going to fight. It's only a matter of time before she's fussing at me and she's aggravated, and now I'm going to her, and we're just going at it. And honestly, it got bad to where it's like, all right, well, you do it, I'll do it, which is you have to do it together. So nevertheless, to backtrack a little bit, I'm talking about anger. I'm talking about, like, we went to a place where we both got angry. We were both wrong. She wronged me. I wronged her. Whatever. Like, it wasn't just one person's fault. We both went to the table and we both sinned. We both were wrong to each other. But we got into a pattern. That's my point. We got into a pattern, this ritual of going through finances. But the ritual was we were going to fight. And finally, we're like, by God's grace, we're not doing this anymore. And so it was a thing where if we felt ourselves getting too emotional, we're calling it. We're not going to the place of anger and fighting. And you know what? Now we can talk and we don't fight about finances. So I guess my point is anger. There are things in our lives that like anger, especially unchecked anger, like, it's not wrong to be angry at a good thing. Like, if it's
injustice.
a child being hurt, like, be
Right.
angry and go take care of business, right? So, but you had unrighteous anger just flying off the cuff for ridiculous things. And some people who struggle with it, like I have, you have to, like, back up a little bit. And we're not necessarily talking about how to fix it, although I will throw it out. If you're struggling with anger, like, look at the cues, the things that make you angry, and you got to try to cut the head off. I don't know if
that's
if
good.
y'all have been
That's
through
good.
any of that.
Yeah,
So,
no, for sure. I think anger is something all men deal with,
sure.
but not all men know how to control. So just fly off the handle. Their kids, they step on a toy and they just lose their mind. And I mean, there's so many scenarios. So yeah, that can create a very unstable home and a lot of ripple effects into the inner psyche of their kids. I'm afraid of dad because when he comes home, he might lose it, right? And so what does that create in your home? Instability, an environment where there's fear, where there's trepidation, it's not secure, it's not safe. So yeah, I mean, that can be a huge, huge issue that if men don't figure out, that it can cause long-term damage in their family where, your kids don't know what to expect from you as a father. I have one I'd like you to speak into, Jermaine, because you are a resident athletic personal trainer. out of the three of us. I mean, you actually went to
Why do
school
y'all
for this.
assume that? Let's
You have-
flex on the. No, okay, let's.
It's like a spaghetti noodle, but
Don't say that about him.
but obviously, you know, like you've done training in this, but you've also been very consistent with your health for a long period of time. One of the things that I think is very easy for dads to justify is like being unhealthy physically. So, like, let's talk about that from the positive. How have you maintained a physically healthy lifestyle? You also went through some health challenges in the last few years.
I did, yeah.
So, like, talk through that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, I've always, you know, growing up, I've just thought, and as I've gotten older, you've only got one you know, and if I don't take care of me, who's going to take care of me? Yeah. You know, if I'm, and from that place of health, everything else flows out of. I can't be a good father. I can't be a good husband. All the things we're talking about doing, that if we don't keep a tabs on our health and be intentional, we can't do any of that. I can't be the father or husband that I want to be. But speaking to health and fitness, yes, I've just made it a point. So I remember when we first got married, my wife and I were like our first couple years in, when was our first year? We went to a resort.
1956.
And we went to,
She's not that old.
and we're at the beach and having a good time. And I'm like, I'm going to the gym. And she's like, what? So I'm going to go work out. And she's like, you're going to work out? We're on vacation, babe. What do you mean? And I'm like, I don't vacation from the gym, baby. I'm going to
Come on, boo.
And I remember her going like, and I didn't say it rudely. I remember her going, I'm like, that's how it becomes a lifestyle.
How long were y'all married before y'all? What did you say? Like a couple years?
A couple years
into
our marriage.
Okay.
And she, you know, and it was a big vacation. And I'm like,
yeah.
But what I'm saying is that what that does for a man. I mean, there's so many studies out. You know, not only what it does for you physically, but what it does for a man mentally, and a woman also emotionally for the human is incredible. So I've just made it a point. It's a good, healthy rhythm for me in my life to keep that thing in check, because I know that it's easier to maintain than it is that when it goes to an excessive place and come back. And so I've always just thought in my own heart, like, I'm just going to try to be consistent at it. Of course, there are days that I miss. There are days, like I said, last year.
And you need to rest.
Yeah, for sure. Last year I went through, for months, I had some health fatigue. And I remember those months of like, man, thinking like, praying and Lord, you know, come on, this has been months, 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many months it was. And I wasn't able to do it. I was just like, I'm just grateful to be able to be around and doing basic things. But
yeah, it was crazy when I tore my Achilles. I couldn't lift weights because I couldn't be on my foot. Mm-hmm. Couldn't run for a long time. And I remember being like, and y'all know me, I'm not somebody that naturally is like a downer, but there was like a time I'm like, dude, why do I feel this way? I got low because I had no energy, I had no movement, and I was just eating, and I was like gaining weight. I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, well, I can't even move. So it's like, you know, that was forced upon me to heal, right? But, you know, getting up, going, and then you could quickly feel, you know, kind of stamina come back. But I remember, honestly, Jermaine, I remember like 20 years ago, you've been doing this consistently, part of your life for so long. And obviously, it pays effects. But what about the guys who are like, man, my life is busy. You know, I got a lot of kids, I have work, you know, 2 jobs.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, how do they?
I mean, I think you just find the time. Like I mean, you make the time rather than find the time. I'm sorry. So you can't, you know, we all have 24 hours in a day. So what I would say to do, look at your time. If you work out, if I want to get an hour workout and I did 15-minute segments a day, I would get the same. This is what they say scientifically.
The same benefits.
You get the exact same benefits if I worked out for an hour straight, right? The same benefit. So maybe you can't do an hour, but I can do a 15-minute here and a 15-minute there and a 15 throughout the day times 4. That's an hour. It's the same health benefits. Or getting up early,
like last night, just
time.
For our listeners, it was interesting last night. Like, we've been busy here last night.
But you guys brought your shake weights with you, so you guys were able to work
out. No, but last night, this guy's like, you know, doing push-ups and sit-ups and finds a way to start. Like there's a movie on and he's exercising. I'm like, going and I got to be more like Jermaine.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, just again, and another thing I would say is find someone to work out with, hold you accountable. When it comes to health, it can be challenging and intimidating doing it on your own.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody like doing it alongside you, like Nathan and I even have the app on our watches where we can see each other's activity, and we can see like, oh, he's burned this many calories. It can be a healthy reminder.
That's right, Jermaine.
Why am I not on
right.
there?
You are with me. I don't know if you guys share with each other. We should figure that out.
But yeah, there's ways to help motivate each other, right? Like sometimes it's going alone, going with a partner, right? Celebrating setting clear goals, achievable goals, smart goals, right? Right. When it comes to health and fitness, because it can be so overwhelming. And it could be going to a gym and feeling out of place.
And maybe that's a bad habit too, of thinking like, oh, well, I don't have a six pack yet. And like not thinking about the small things that you could do to make big impacts.
Celebrate you can touch your knees.
No,
toes.
Seriously. Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm being a little facetious, but seriously, like just start somewhere. I think that's because there's such a connection between your internal attitude and your external appearance. Like those two things are intimately connected. And if you hate the way that you look as a man, that's going to affect a lot of different areas of your life, even beyond how you feel. So I think that's huge. Another one I would say is I think some people are external processors, some people are internal processors. But I know people personally who have talked their whole lives about all the things they're going to do and haven't done any of them. Yeah. And I think sometimes that guys feel like, if I talk about what I'm going to do, it's almost as if I've done it. And so, I see like this toxic habit of, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to start this side hustle. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to do, whatever it is. And then you check in 6 months later, a year later, and they're in the exact same spot. They haven't done anything with it. And so what it seems like is you're almost being a observer in your own life. Like you're almost like a passive bystander watching your life go by instead of taking the bull by the horns and doing things.
Yeah.
And so, they say, when's the best time to start? Right now, today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow never comes. Yesterday's gone. All we have is today. Start today.
But do you think people aren't doing that, man, because of failure? I mean, like a fear of failure. We've almost like even our grading system, right? Like the way we see things, the way we operate is we're always constantly measuring.
Yeah.
We always feeling like a failure. Do you feel like failure?
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely. Fear of rejection, fear of failure are huge demotivators for people to take risks, try new things. But we also know, like I'm going through this book with my girls, and they talk about failure as the best teacher. And there's a switch that's got to go in your head where you realize like failure is my best friend right now because it means I'm trying new things.
Come on.
But, when you study anyone who's been successful, we only see their rise at the top. But the truth is they failed over again.
You like the light bulb illustration with Thomas Edison?
Yeah. I mean, how many times?
He failed 1,000
or whatever
times,
it is. Right. Yeah. But I do think some guys don't have the internal confidence to handle the temporary failure. And so when you fall, when you fail, it's hard to get back up. But the truth is if you look at it from the right perspective, it's actually an opportunity to learn, okay, I did something wrong. What do I need to do different the next time? So I do think that's a huge thing for sure.
Or, and on the same track, sometimes people may feel, well, I'm too old. I'm too old to start. And that itself, again, the thinking is a negative thinking, which is a bad habit. And again, going back to, Taylor and I going to the fight, like I'm in my head, I'm like, we're going to fight, but we got to get through it because it's our finances and we got to, but so it's like, we have to have like, in a certain sense, positive thinking, like I can do it. Or, hey, it doesn't matter how old you were. Like I heard somebody say, if it weren't for the last 40 years of Moses's life, we wouldn't know who he was. He was 40 years old and he left Egypt. He was kicked out. And then when he was 80 years old, he was 40 years in the desert. And when he was 80 years old, he was called by God.
Well, the interesting thing is those 40 years, I guarantee you, completely gave up.
Without
he forgot the prophetic words. He forgot what God said about him. He was just literally just punched in the clock, living his life as a bystander, waiting to die.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is I think Colonel Sanders, right?
KFC, McDonald's, they all both started later in life.
40s or 50s.
Yeah. 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So I guess, the point is it's like, you're
Never
not
too
too
late.
old. Have the right mentality, have the right attitude. And I'm sure, you could just quickly just be inspired. I love to tell people, go read people's biographies and go figure things out.
Seriously.
But hey, get the right thoughts, read the right books, talk to the right people. If you have like toxic people in
Get
your
'em
life,
out.
get them out.
Sorry, get them out.
So
sorry,
listen to good podcasts that are going to be encouraging.
The
like,
Father Focus podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, seriously, get them out. That's a good one, Jeremy. If you have people in your life that aren't pro you, that don't believe in you, like one of the
crabs.
crazy things I've seen in relationships is that you'll have these spouses going through things, and then you'll have this woman over telling the wife, if he should have been da 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 da, or the man telling, she's bad, and you don't need that in your life. You need to get those people out of your life. You need people that are going to remind you of, Nathan, this is the call of God in your life. Jeremy, this is what I see with you and Taylor. We need people who will coach us up. Everybody can be a coach, but not everybody can coach people up. You can coach them up or coach them down. And you want to coach people up. Hey, Nathan, listen, man, I hear you. This is what I see. I believe in you. So if there's negative people in your life, that's a toxic habit. It's a big one. Sometimes people likes negativity breeds negativity.
Right. Or like in examples where the spouse will dog your spouse.
Yes.
And almost make you feel like you need to divorce that person. Like those are really unhealthy relationships.
Super
you want
unhealthy.
people that are going to talk your spouse up even when they're not around, because ultimately any healthy person wants a marriage to last for the sake of each other, but also for their kids.
Absolutely.
So I think I know you had mentioned phones. Obviously we live in a day now where so addicting, right?
Yeah, and yes, phones, and I do want to get to TV, and I'll tell you another one of our failures in our home, and I'll start with that one actually. Nathan did something to me that rocked my world. He introduced me to The Office.
Oh,
and I
gotcha.
absolutely loved the show. It was amazing. I remember,
Great show.
when we all lived in Orlando, you'd be like, Jeremy, come over. We lived near each other. Come over, come watch The Office. And I'd watch it for 5 minutes. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then after, I'm like, this is hilarious. So anyway, enjoyed the show. My wife enjoys the show. And dude, for a long time, we would like just night after
binge
night,
watch,
after night after night after night after night. And then one day we like looked at each other. We're like, we're wasting like precious hours. Like there's other things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching TV. I love TV. I watch TV all the time. I love it. Like there's like a time and a place for everything. But it was like too much of a good thing can hurt you. Too much water will kill you, right? So nevertheless, we had to like recalibrate how we related to TV. And honestly, we hadn't watched The Office in a couple of years. Like, so we've watched other things, of course, but the phone, like, have y'all ever gone to the section in the phone? And I can't remember where it is. Wait, the screen time, like how much screen time, like that, like don't look at your screen time or look at your screen time and then tell me if you have time to do the things that you really want to do. You want to work out. Like you can make time, spending how much time. And I get it. It's passive. Like you're doing it in the, wherever in the car, you're just randomly scrolling through when you wake up in the morning. But there's so many other valuable things that you could do. The phone, not only is it like we're a product for these guys, like they're making money off of us.
Attention economy.
Right. But the reason I'm saying that it can be a toxic habit to just go to your phone, live on your phone, and it's a great blessing. I love having the phone, but it could be bad because it sucks us in a way. Like we're so drawn in. Tell us what you do, Nathan, as far as like putting your phone away when you get home.
Yeah. I mean, I had to. There's I saw this thing on social media, ironically, which we shouldn't be on all the time, but it said there's like a psychological example we're setting for our kids nowadays in our modern culture where kids are used to seeing adults like this.
Like looking down at a phone.
And essentially what they're saying is this is teaching kids how to behave as adults, which I don't think I've never thought about that. And so sometimes I'll catch myself on my phone. My girls are sitting right there. And I'm like, what the frick am I? So I'll throw my phone across the room. Like, I won't break it, but I'll like throw it away in the sense where it's like, I don't even be able to reach this thing because this moment right now matters so much more than whatever on social media, ESPN, whatever I'm looking at. Like, this does not matter. This is not changing my life. This isn't a memory I'm going to look at 20 years. Man, look at that photo of me on my phone. I'm so glad I did that.
Right.
But my kids, man, you know, the older they get, the less time you have. And so I do think that's one thing you have to consciously get that phone out of reach. They even track pickups. I think you can look at that on your phone. How many times do you pick up your phone?
Oh, wow.
It'll look. You can go look and see in your
I'm not
settings.
letting you see mine.
So, but it's such a subconscious thing, right? Like anytime there's dead space, what do? You pick up your phone. You pick up your phone. Well, instead, put that thing away and focus on your kids. Like, they're way more important. And what are you teaching them? You are worth more than whatever it is I'm scrolling on. Like, that's a powerful message.
Yeah. I totally just take my phone and I completely, you know, people are like, oh, we try to text you, we try to email you. I literally put it, there's a counter space when I walk in the house, I just lay it down. I immediately go, okay. And I put my phone down and I'm there. I try to be there, engaged with my kids.
Yeah.
And there's times I've missed things, or like I said, a text or a call, but I'm like, I literally put my phone away off my person because I don't want it to steal those times and those moments. I want to engage with my family.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I thought this was a very helpful discussion. And, you know, anytime we have discussions about like the positive, there's negative things, you know, attached to good things. The phone is a great thing. TV is awesome. There's so many great outlets, but the good thing can have, we can create habits for good things that are wrong, just like the opening illustration with the baseball swing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do it right, but we let little small errors in that end up corrupting down the line. Like what you do one bad habit one time, or one bad thing one time is not a big deal. But then when it starts habituating and becoming a pattern in your life, a habit in your life, that's where it starts causing effects and you know, damaging other things. So great discussion, guys. Well, listen, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening once again to the Father Focus podcast. We would love and just be so excited. There's the word again. Honored if you would like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And if there's anything that we could do, reach out. We'd love to connect with you on social media. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.